Hello.
I am Leanne Mackay. And I'm Suzanne Rowland.
My name's Erin Twitchin.
I'm Helene Murray.
I'm Tony Jameson. Hello.
I'm Katie Mulgrave.
Hi, my name's Francis Jenking.
My name's Rob G. I am, by trade, I'm a performance poet.
Hello, my name's Oliver Sillito, comedian.
My name is Mark Oliver.
My name's Jeff Rowe. I'm the Chief Executive of Big Difference Company.
My name is Dr. Broderick Chow, and I'm a lecturer at Brunel University in the School of Arts.
Just a very quick cheer. Give me please be honest with this. Give me a cheer if you are at heart simply a comedy fan. Hey. Not the most enthusiastic cheer. So we're going to have a difficult hour. Give me a cheer. Well, fuck it, let's do this. Give me a cheer if you don't like comedy at all.
No, I realise that we don't focus on what makes us happy in life. We focus on things that we think we need to do, like get a good job or get a nice house.
And happiness is a little bit like your first orgasm. If at first it feels awkward or you're a little bit unsure, just fake it with a smile until you can make it last a while, yeah? Yeah.
The need to be loved.
The need to be loved. Honest answer? Don't know. I don't know where. Yeah, I'm not quite sure where it comes from. I think there is that theory, isn't it, that all comedians have been bullied at school and need love and attention and affection.
Did everyone see the fly as they came in? No? Right, okay, I'm going to do this for a couple of people. It's not a problem. There's a lot of introductions comedians can do when they come on stage. There's the overexcited one where they go, we're going to be best mates. Or they can do the petrified one, like they're acting like they're a bit moody, so they go, hi. And they get into it.
The immediate reaction, even if it's bad, there's such a...
It's the energy, isn't it? You know exactly how well you're doing at that point.
Brilliant.
There's something really weirdly intimate about somebody making you laugh. And if somebody exercises that power over you in a sense, and I don't mean that in a kind of weirdly sinister way, but when you've made an audience laugh and laugh and laugh, and as an audience member, there is something strangely, because it comes from your body, it comes from the way that you feel, and there's something very, very intimate about that. I sort of didn't really know that you could do stand-up in the kind of rough and ready way that we do in this country, because coming from Canada and Vancouver, we only had the two sort of really big comedy clubs, and I wasn't really aware of the grassroots scene at that time. And coming over here, and there's this explosion of comedy clubs and this everywhere. I just really enjoyed the idea that you could write something, and then therefore that was that outlet there.
It fascinates me, coming up to England. Okay, we speak the same language, but they're laughing at the same things, laughing at the same place.
And my mum's very sweet though, because she said to me the other day, she said, "Oh, it's a good job you're a comedian with that accent, isn't it, Katie? Because you couldn't have a proper job, could you? You couldn't be, I know, you're right to do. This is lovely, it's atmospheric."
I think every performer is different sometimes. A lot of people just like it because they're a naturally very social person, and those are often the comedians who can improvise really well because they have no fear of people. I'm not like that, though.
On stage, if the audience are mellow, I'll be mellow, and if the audience are a little bit feisty, I'll be a bit feisty.
I have to remind myself of why I would put myself through this. It's like the nerves I had before the show tonight were incredible, of wanting to vomit. Why I do it, I guess, is simply that feeling of I've made people laugh. The people that come up later and say that was really good and they've had a good time.
I still get really frightened. I don't think I'll ever not be a bit scared. I don't know why. I think I'll always have that. But I hope I always do have it, because I think I worry if I don't get nervous and frightened, then I don't give a shit.
10 minutes before I go on stage, I go, I don't know why I do it. I don't actually know why I'm doing stand-up comedy. Why am I putting myself through it?
There's a thing called the comedian's pre-gig poo that works around the circuit, and that is the single most beautiful thing I've ever found in comedy.
And then 10 minutes before, like, oh, I really need to go for a bit.
And then you hear the music kick in the venue and you kind of go, all right, time to go to work then.
Like, my friend calls it bum rush. It's horrible.
I don't concentrate on what I eat whatever.
I think since like for the last 6 months, my diet and like, yeah, it's just shocking.
Awful. I've never drank so much Red Bull. I don't even drink sugar. I don't have sugar in my diet before I started comedy.
Like the last 3 nights, I think I've had dinner at midnight, like spaghetti like proper dinner. Like spaghetti bolognese and stuff, but it's not good. It can't be good for me. I really can't. But it's, I don't like eating before gigs because I've like nervous energy.
Yeah. So, and then after the gig, you're too full up on adrenaline, so you don't want to eat. And then you
just don't do it, kids. Yeah. Don't do comedy.
Don't do comedy, especially if you look like you've got potential.
Yeah. I've just had a revelation because I've been absolutely after 2 years. I get anxiety, and I've covered it up with alcohol, and I don't know if I'm notorious for just being a pisshead at gigs, do my gig and then get completely pissed afterwards and wasting a lot of time. But now it's straight edge.
Yeah, you're sober doing this one.
Sober doing this one, sober the other night, and it's brilliant.
I can feel when my timing's off that 1/100th of a second that affects the line from the time before. So that's why I've learned not to drink. It does not even one piece of alcohol, because it'll throw me. I've learnt not to have any alcohol. That doesn't help me, and so I just have to sit with it. I have to deep breathe, and I have to make sure that I stand up there.
You know, even when I'm pretty drunk, you're not be able to get too much out of me, really. But that's why the stand-up is something totally different, you know. It's a lot different when I get on stage. I'm a lot more frank, a lot more open.
I get quite down and I bottle things up, and it's a brilliant way of getting rid of everything. It's fantastic to just
it's good fun.
Unleash it. And I know when I'm not gigging that I get a little bit het up, so it's fantastic. Just go. Yeah, it is.
I enjoy it, but in a way that I would never really be able to relate to openly. For anything, it's more cathartic. I think it's cheaper than going to a psychiatrist, really. So if you can just air your grievances, if you make people laugh while you're doing it.
I have a vision. Of just spreading joy and happiness, really, and I think that costs nothing other than the ticket price of entry. And I think it's a small price to pay. And you know, the fact that people leave with a huge happy feeling in their hearts is a huge reward for me.
I have a theory that because when I'm sleep deprived, I have really angry thoughts, and I'm really, really aggressive and horrible. And I thought, well, that's what's happened then. That's why Hitler was such a shit. He didn't get enough sleep. That's why Margaret Thatcher pissed so many people off in this country. She obviously didn't get enough sleep.
You can't plan it. You can't plan it. You can go to a workshop and come up with nothing, but mine comes at 3 o'clock in the morning when I've got to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it comes and comes and comes and comes.
Sometimes inspiration just comes when you're on stage. Funny thing that, when you're on your feet, you tend to get more ideas.
Underwater.
Underwater, yeah, okay. That's the first. I need to be in my spacesuits when I do.
I need to be facing the left.
It's going to be room temperature, and it's got to be rose petals. No. You know, a lot of my ideas come when I'm driving to gigs.
Yeah, I get that as well.
Yeah, a lot of things I go, oh god, I just suddenly,
It's because you're alone with your thoughts.
Apparently a lot of comedians on the toilet, a lot of them get it. I've never had inspiration on the toilet per se, but apparently it's happening.
It's that kind of eureka moment, isn't it? You know, like, I've done it, I need to wipe first.
Oh god!
That's me gag!
I don't have a regime, mate. I'm practicing.
Kicks you in the dick! We had a bit of a... Before we went on, didn't we?
Let's kick us in the dick.
It's usually late at night driving back from gigs. I get ideas. So I jot them down as best I can remember them, and you'll find like I've got little post-its and notes on my computer, notes on my phone, notes basically everywhere.
We just generally go around each other's house and think about it.
With me, I sometimes I listen to music and go, oh, and I listen to my headphones and go, right, and have a little write down, and then it comes something from that.
Usually I just get streams of text messages from you when I wake up in the morning, like 2 in the morning, just this,
Everything that I talk about has happened to me, which is worrying, to be honest. I would like to say that I sit there in a cafe with a glass of red wine. It's normally just a case of I've walked into a wall or something and it's like, yeah, we're putting that in.
It's pretty much, that made me look a bit of an idiot.
Yeah,
ooh.
That's my yeah, alright, oh, you were a dickhead.
That was really embarrassing, yeah, let's do that.
You're a dickhead on Tuesday, right, there's 10 more minutes of material.
That's mainly my big influence of people watching. Not in a weird way, not in a stalkerish way. I don't just sit at the back watching people. As soon as I get onto a bus, I think of half my set and it just goes on every note on my phone and I've got to put it on later.
Try and do interesting things and hope that kind of stories come out, and you know, rather than sitting in my room tippy-tapping, I like to kind of get out and see the world a little bit.
I'm what I call a comedy dickhead, in that I do drop in material and conversation all the time, and like I think I'm being really smart at like blending it, you know, like at a party, and then someone interrupts you and you end up finding yourself slapping them in the face and saying, "This is the listening part, bitch."
We run an open mic night down the hub, so it's called Lions Eat Ice Cream, and we literally, we have a little skeleton to what we're going to do, but no actual lines. So literally, we'll get dressed outside the kebab shop, and you do that, and I'll do this, and it works.
Yeah, the kebab man comes out and chats to us. Chat at lines at gigs.
Well, by the way, I'm flaccid, but that is wholly inappropriate. I like you. No, not like that. There's a chance that after my half hour is finished, I'm going to be on some sort of register. So.
I love the idea that you can, you know, write something in the morning and then just put it on stage at night. And if it fails, it fails. And then that to me is really important to. It's the only kind of art form where, you know, failure is, in a sense, really just like okay.
I kind of think that everyone's first gig should be awful. If I gave you a guitar, if you don't play the guitar and went, here's this guitar, go and perform in front of, you know, 50 people, then you go, well, that's a ridiculous idea. Let me learn the guitar first and then I'll do it. But when you do stand-up, you have to learn in front of an audience, and it's inevitable that you will die.
In a nursing home. Yeah, the audience were wetting themselves, literally. When they weren't flashing me their nappies, they were falling asleep.
We're at New Parks Leisure Centre, which is tremendous, and it's the calm before the storm at the moment. This is the first proper show. We've got no idea if anyone's going to turn up. We've got no idea whether people are going to like it. If they do turn up, we've got no idea if I'm going to remember all my words.
I did do my own gig in my car once. I drove to a gig and there was no one there, and the pub was rubbish. There were only 2 people in the audience, so myself, the compere, and the 2 members of the audience drove around for 20 minutes while I did my set.
I think that the role of a comedian should be to kind of give voice to his or her own individuality, and also to accept failure. I think that's really important, because I think that the failure and the idea that a comedian's act can go wrong is probably the most interesting part of stand-up.
It sounds really cliche, but the worst gigs are where you actually learn stuff from them and go, oh, okay, well that's
I shouldn't have done that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, I shouldn't have called them that.
I was getting called everything from Jesus Christ to Charles Manson, right? Now, I don't know which one's worse. They've both been held responsible for quite a few killings. One more than the other. But it's not for me to comment, you know.
They'd been drinking on Tuesday, right? The gig started on Friday. They were absolutely pissed out of their brains, right? They had little candle tea light things. You know the little tea lights, don't you? Put them on all the tables to make the place look nice and pretty, right? The problem was, I saw one of the rugby lads eat one while it was on fire.
With every gig, remember what you did well. Because that's a habit that we all have as performers. We're very good at beating ourselves up. We don't need critics.
It's doing stuff and blurting it out on stage in front of people, and then if it works enough for me to blurt it out again, I'll blurt it out a bit better the next time, and gradually it becomes less of a blurt and more of a finished product.
Learn from better acts, and then you see the newer acts come through, and you know, when you see someone who's got a lot of potential, you sit there and you're right, okay, we're going to make sure that they don't get out of this gig. Yeah, exactly.
People walk through the door and you feel like, right, this is not even going to break even tonight. You have to think about that as well. But when people leave, and they leave in a better place than they did when they first arrived, you just go, yeah, we're booked for next month. Let's do it all over again, bring it on, yeah.
The more comedy you do, the less you spend time thinking about comedy, because you spend time about hotels and travel and money and gigs and all that sort of stuff.
You'll tell your mates and something, oh yeah, I was doing like half an hour last night, and they'll go, half an hour's work, is that all you do? And then they forget it took you 4 hours to get there and 4 hours to get back, so you've done a 9 to 5, effectively. It's great, to be honest. It was one of those things, I always loved stand-up comedy, didn't know how to do it, didn't know how to get into it, and then when you get into it, you go, oh, it's not like the telly, is it?
Yeah.
No, there's not 2,000 people and lights and a microphone.
There's 35 people
and
at
laughter.
most.
Yeah, exactly.
A couple of them are tittling, but not tittling? It's not even
tittling.
Some of them are titillating.
That's nice, you were talking about earlier, isn't it? but no, it's great, and obviously the more you do it, the idea is the better you get, I suppose.
Edema, yeah. My face swells, my hands swell, a lot of other places swell. Even my butt swells, and that's totally unnecessary. Sometimes my lips, honestly, they look like I've got my hoo-ha on my face sideways. Now there's a visual that you were looking for, isn't it?
Put your hand up if you've seen a vagina. Oh God, I'm so sorry. Let me educate you, sir. I've seen one vagina in my life in a documentary called Teeth, okay? It was red, it was hairy, and at one point I thought it was going to eat me.
I was trying to envisage what I thought lady parts looked like, and as I was drawing them, I just ended up making it look like roadkill. It was horrible.
And it's alright being slow at school, but it's a bit awkward when everyone starts having sex and your mum's still sitting you down like, this is what a pube is. I'm like, okay. And then you go to your mates, isn't that cool? Either like, guess what I learned yesterday? You go, what? I was like, this is a pube. But yeah, that's the older lot laughing. The younger lot's like, yeah, pubes and sex. Yes. Yeah, not ready yet. The weirdest heckle ever.
Probably with hecklers, you've been touched in a way that like you didn't expect, and heckles can kind of be a reaction to that. Similarly, I think it would go if you saw the rest of your friends all laughing along and you weren't being, all you felt was anger, say. That would come out as a heckler.
I really like heckles. They're really funny to mess around with, and they can, and it involves everyone for like a second, and then everyone feels much more involved with your set.
I love hecklers. I absolutely love a fight. They petrified me at first, but I'd rather be heckled to death than have a quiet room.
I deal with hecklers by smothering them with kindness. I used to be quite a nasty person before I started comedy, but I found I just love things too much. So I try and be as sickly nice as possible to them, to the point where they just want to leave. This is not always successful, but I think it does me well karma-wise, and I think it might help me go to heaven.
I think sometimes it's a kind of sense of bravado, and well, sometimes it's just like drunk, you know. No other two words about it. Like it's just, you know, you have a bit of a drink, and then your party self comes out. That sometimes it's just that. Other times I think it's kind of bravado and that sense of if you, especially if you come in a large group, that you feel a little bit more secure in that position to be able to speak back to a comedian.
Sort of putting them in their place, as in don't shout out again, but but then making light of it and making sure that everybody's still happy and comfortable. That's a really important job.
It's like a cotton wool covered razor blade, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's nice and it's friendly, but it's a bit.
You've got to sort of tell them off. Yeah. I think some actually I think they're helping as well, which is quite it's sort of misguided but sweet. Like, oh, well, I'm just helping.
Yeah.
You're not helping at all.
It's like when your mum just helps.
Yeah.
It's not needed, but in her head she's doing a good job.
Yeah.
It just makes the night worse.
Yeah, definitely.
We get so obsessed with stand-up being about talking, but actually it's not. It's about listening, and you know, you don't. You listen to the audience. You listen to the way they are. The listening in stand-up is so much more important than the talking in stand-up.
Laughter coach, what it is I do a lot of laughter or comedy therapy in schools and organisations, and it's based on the principles of laughter yoga. It's this idea of being able to laugh without an external stimulus. So, for instance, uncross your arms. Let's have a go. So, you clap your hands and you go, ha. Yeah, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So it's ha, ha, ho, ho, ho. Ha, ha, ho, ho, ho. And faster, ha, ha, ho, ho, ho. Ha, ha, ho, ho, ho. Ha, ha, ho, ho, ho. And just like that.
People on guard when they're laughing. It's as simple as that. And people like you when they're laughing. If you know, if you say hello to someone and they smile at you, you automatically want to help them more than somebody who doesn't smile at you. And it's just that very simple human thing that when people laugh, then they're more relaxed. You know, laughter's very good for us. So it's, on one level, it's nice to make an audience laugh. On another level, it's nice when an audience make you laugh.
In that way, the laughter itself makes it easier to discuss those things because you've been given a get-out clause from your emotional investment in one subject.
It makes people more inclined to get involved and to be engaged in it because it's going to be funny and fun, and it's not going to be dull and boring. We're probably best known for doing the comedy festival, I guess, but we've always tried to use comedy to deliver messages in community settings, or I mean, it's to be fair, in lots of different settings really. We've done quite a lot of professional development, conferencing type things, team building in corporate settings, various types of projects which pretty much all use comedy or humour in one way or another.
The company that are doing it are called Big Difference Company, and they run Leicester Comedy Festival, and they also run an organisation or a project called Make Me Happy, which is anything to do with art, comedy and health, really. I've been asked to write and perform a comedy show about spotting the early symptoms of breast, lung and bowel cancer. Quite an ambitious subject for comedy, I'm sure you'll agree. They've got me performing it in 3 different leisure centres around the place, and then the cancer ambassadors or the volunteers that will be performing the show afterwards, they're going to take it, I presume, anywhere they can, be it pubs, libraries, whatever. It's been paid for by the health service, who are very keen on helping people get themselves treated early. Because often, obviously with cancer, the sooner you pick it up, the better your prognosis is. And breast, lung and bowel cancer are the 3 most prolific in the region, so they're the ones that we're particularly targeting.
Whether that's health related, whether that's kind of, I don't know what you call it really, community cohesion. Some people use it as a consultation method to find out what people think about a new development, for example, or a new community resource, or whatever it might be doing. We design projects that meet specific needs.
We're tackling cancer in a new and innovative way, and I've failed to see what could possibly go wrong.
Cancer can happen in any part of the body. Men shout testicles on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Testicles. Fantastic. Particularly loud testicles from you. You'll notice there's a few small children in here this evening as well. You'll be, hello, you'll be learning some new words tonight. And testicles being the first one. People are still scared of, especially anything to do with bugs or boobs as well. People still get a little bit sheepish and cagey about well, basically flashing a doctor. We struggle with that for the very most worthy of reasons. And it's just to reassure you really that every medic in the world has seen a veritable army of backsides. And yours really isn't going to stand out unless you shave it and draw a face on it. So please don't be embarrassed about seeing these people.
The best thing you can do is to be silly. in a way that isn't overly frivolous. You know, and it's not an easy balance, but there's so much around cancer rather than just cancer itself. So you can make comedy about people's attitudes towards it. You can make comedy about embarrassment, about getting your boobs and your bum checked out. Generally, you know, you can make comedy about the healthcare system.
Hopefully by the end of the show you'll have been entertained, you'll have done a quiz, we have prizes. Yes, we have prizes. You'll see comedy sketches, you'll have a great time, and you'll leave here with your life expectancy slightly up as well.
Hello! My name is Michael Caine! I'm an actor! I've been in many prestigious films! I never think about my death! When people say, Michael, what's going to happen when you die? I'll just look at them, give them a wink. I say, it's not worth thinking about.
The situation, the unique situation that you often find yourself in with live comedy enables people to tell jokes about anything. So there's nothing off limits for us, and in terms of difficult subject matters, I mean, we've done stand-up comedy shows about cancer, we've done projects around health promotion, sexual health, teenage pregnancy, a whole variety of things. I think sometimes we do ridicule people, and sometimes we do make fun of people and of situations, and if that's a way of provoking people to then talk about things or confront their fears or confront issues that maybe they don't want to talk about, then that's a good thing, I think.
I don't know where teasing stops sometimes and abuse begins. This is not going to be a story about how I was abused, but that'd be awful, wouldn't it?
I think it absolutely helps people to remember the messages. People want to be involved, and they'll remember whatever it is that we're trying to communicate.
You're on sort of risky territory if ever you talk about the worthiness of spreading a message through comedy, but all that notwithstanding, comedy is a great way of spreading a message, you know.
Being a female comedian, getting chatted up varies a lot from being a male comedian. I've seen some of my male peers being chatted up by really good-looking women, and the thing is, I don't. I find it quite fascinating when a male comedian's on stage, and sort of the way a woman responds to him. I can see it in her eyes. They'll sort of be looking around and go, "Oh, he's funny. He's got the whole room in a palm of his hand. Oh, do you know what that is? Oh, that is sexy. Yeah. Oh, I bet he's got a wife and kids." Oh. And then I see a bloke looking at me when I'm on stage. I can see what he's thinking. Oh, she's funny. Oh, she's got the room in the palm of her hand. Oh. You know what that is? That is terrifying. That is. Oh.
I was seeing this fellow. He came over to see me one night for a cuddle. It was 2 in the morning. I was very drunk. I know, it's a classy type of individual, I like to say. And more to this chap was that he chewed chewing gum. Those poor boys, it's happened to them.
We wanted to be different. We didn't want to be a man on the stage standing there scratching his bum talking about girls. We just wanted to
we just wanted something different. We want people to go away tonight and go, that was fun. That was fun. I enjoyed that.
Oh, what was that?
And yeah.
I remember it.
Remember it, yeah. We are probably the premier male drag act. Because all of our characters are men.
I was like 14. And I was really kind of horrified at the fact that I couldn't talk to girls. I thought it was the most daunting thing in the world. What do I do? God, I'm gonna have to pull out plan B here. I'm gonna have to make myself gay. So I was forcing myself at 14 years of age in a post office queue to look at a man's arse. It's True. Yeah, you laugh now, it's like my tears in my eyes. Look. I actually did this on a few occasions, and I told my best mate about it. Instead of being all nice and supportive and going, no, it's just a phase, you'll be fine. He went, you idiot. You bloody idiot. Why don't you just do what the rest of us do if we can't talk to girls? What's that? My porn!
Who would we say is the most manliest person in this room? Slim Pickens. Well, I don't know, you're quite manly there, like this, like 6 testicles.
So I decided to draw my own porn. Serious. Now, I never took art as a GCSE or anything like that, right? But I decided to draw my own pornography. What can I say about it? It was creepy. It didn't do anything for me. Didn't even have those nice little artist pencils, you know, for shading. And it's got a load of felt tips. All the felt tips.
But do you give your son boy lessons?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
What
yeah.
masculine things do you teach him, like how to put up shelves and piss on toilet seats?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hunting, shooting, fishing, that kind.
Leicester is harsh.
The general thing that I probably should tell you about, that I should allegedly be quite happy about, is that I got engaged recently as well, right? Which is quite nice. Look, don't say woo, you don't know her, she's a dick, right? She's alright, but essentially, right, we got to that stage where we'd been together that long that neither of us could be asked to find anyone else. Ladies, am I right in believing that the whole point is the man is meant to go down on one knee and do the whole thing, not have a stroke, obviously. I'm having a stroke, will you marry us? No, you're a bad investment. So, is that right? Is that the stereotype? Yeah, stereotype is that you're meant to go down on one knee, right? The problem is, I snapped my cruciate ligament 2 years ago playing football, okay? Can't go down on one knee, so when I did it, I went down on both knees, which made it look like I was fucking begging.
I genuinely don't mind. I think there's a right time to use it and a wrong time to use it. I don't think when I first started out, I did it. I used swear words when I panicked. Someone didn't laugh, I would go, "Am I allowed to swear?" But yeah, I would say, you know, fuck this, fuck that, and use it at a wrong time, at an inappropriate time, and it wouldn't work.
I don't mind it. I use it all the fucking time.
Now, I said cock. Are we going to be okay with... Are you their mum? Right, good. But you claim responsible for that one, but not him. So I can direct all the swears at him. Yes. Good. His father's a long way. Oh, okay. We'll not get into that. But super. Counselling session. How old are you guys? If I don't mind asking. 15. Oh, that's fine. You can watch like Angelina Jolie with her breasts out and stuff. Oh, I'm not going to do that. That's not what I'm going to do. So sorry if anyone thought that was what was happening. I'm not like the warm-up burlesque act. No.
When we do conferences in particular, people are very keen that, you know, performers don't swear, for example, or don't tell jokes about sex or whatever, and actually sometimes that stuff goes down really well and people don't have to be as conscious about it. And with older people, quite often we'll get the same thing, is, you know, they won't swear, will they, or they won't talk about sex. And some groups of older people like nothing better than swearing a lot and talking about sex. I mean, it's just because they're older people, it doesn't mean that they don't know what these things are.
There's no subject in existence that can't be addressed by comedy. That, you know, if you look at offensive comedy, it's not the subject that makes a joke offensive, it's the intent behind which you tell the joke that makes it offensive.
And I do remember where I learned what black comedy was. Someone said to me, "Do you enjoy black comedy?" I said, "Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of Bill Cosby." Good Lord.
I'm not racist because I am quarter Indian. Now me and my girlfriend, who is also white, yeah, you know, we're having a baby. Yeah, so we're slowly getting rid of it. You know, doing our bit for society if you want.
Genuinely, what do you think of these, right? Don't you look intelligent, right? Party on! Intelligence for school. Party on! Intelligence for school. Hangover. Right, do you know what I got the other day? Right, I got Alan Carr, and oddly, Halle Berry. Now, if I knew that glasses could make me look like a gay man and a young black female simultaneously, I would have got them sooner and started a career as Nick Griffin's nightmare.
With stereotyping, it's quite a necessary part of what happens in comedy, because your individuality always needs to be sort of filtered through something that can be made universal.
Tonight, for you, as a treat, we have coming to this stage the wonderful, go wild and crazy, give him everything, the wonderful Engelbert Humperdinck!
You might know me from such records as Lady Fate, Spanish Pie, I left you because you're a minkle! Oh boy! White girl! Oh, a sexy lady! Alright, sexy lady. Take your clothes off. No. Come over. Talk about it. Oh, right. Can you, hold me cheese instead.
Only true red Leicester is harvested from the crotch of egg.
We often use stereotypes as a shorthand, really, or an abbreviation. Sometimes stereotypes are really useful at sort of just cutting to the chase, really, and establishing something without having to go through the whole process of introducing them.
What I love about the Vietnamese is that they're very friendly, open people, and they will comment on what they see. Let's face it, I'm probably twice the size of any average Vietnamese person. And so one day I was crossing the road, I like this, and I was going to get a Diet Coke from the vendor. And this lady, who was very friendly, as I get close to her, to buy my Diet Coke, she says, she wanted to hug me. We get to this position and she says, "Hello, many kilo." I was really in a dilemma, like, do I squeeze a bit harder?
As a comedian, I have a very mixed background. So I'm Canadian, I'm Chinese, I'm Filipino. So I have three of those sides, but it doesn't work to write a joke specifically on that kind of combination of factors, unless it's something that that the audience can relate to on the basis of also being mixed in that way. If I were to sort of at one point in the set for one specific bit of material just say I'm Canadian, then that works because people can understand that there's a kind of national identity.
We were delivering a project recently, and it was a health-based project, and somebody walked on camera and they had a white coat on and a clipboard and a pair of glasses and a stethoscope around their neck, and the people that we were making the film for were quite worried because they said that doctors don't look like that anymore, and they might not, but everybody would recognise, I would suggest everybody would recognise somebody who was wearing a white coat and a stethoscope and a clipboard and glasses as being a doctor. You don't have to say it's a doctor, you just know it's a doctor.
Your laughter at a stereotype is either that you recognise it or you don't, and therefore you are determining your own identity and your relationship to the larger political world in that way.
Thank you. As you probably already guessed from my high-pitched voice, tight little t-shirt and floppy fringe, yes, I am a vegetarian. Not often the reaction you get when you tell people you only believe in the killing of animals for sport and fashion. But thank you very much for being supportive. It's good. Because I grew up in the country, I used to train quite a lot because every time I went out of the house, the other boys would chase me, which I called kiss chase. The police called it assault. They used to kiss me with their feet.
That say that you can live in a house, for one, that you can have enough money and stability and comfort to own pets, and you can, you can make tea and have enough money to have comfort when other people don't. So people recognize themselves within that set of identities. If you were to therefore do that material for for some worker in Cambodia, like where there is no recognition of that, then you would see that kind of conflict and antagonism, because there is no, there is no recognition, and therefore there's no shared identity in that sense. So of course it's political, because you're always working from the sort of political, your place in a political world.
The year I was diagnosed as gay, my mum individually wrapped 36 condoms and placed them under the Christmas tree. They were like kinky quality streets. And no, she went to like quite a lot of trouble. Like, she put all the flavours, like lubed, ultra humiliation. You just dipped in and didn't know what you were going to get. It's like a sexual health bag of rebels. So it was always quite nice.
What I really enjoy seeing, though, in comedy clubs is often when a group of people come together and then one person doesn't laugh at something, because then you get the really interesting sort of nuances of conflict and antagonism, and that's like a really kind of political thing that happens, because then not everybody's feeling the same way.
I've been talking about a few things that have been a bit, ooh, people, that's disgusting, you said earlier on, yeah, exactly, you put your head in your hands, but people talk about taboo subjects. I genuinely think you shouldn't stand, it shouldn't just be a Michael McIntyre impression all the time. You should try and push a few boundaries, as long as you know what boundaries they are.
Yeah, I think you can get away with a lot of things. I find I can be quite cheeky and say quite rude things, actually, on stage that you probably wouldn't be able to get away with in real life.
Being a comedian, it's a great job, but actually you have got responsibility. I think breaking taboos is great, but I've seen comedians that will go on and say stuff offensive, like be really offensive, and it's not that funny, and you're like, well, actually you're getting paid. That's actually irresponsible, because you're purposely doing this now. You're quite enjoying the fact that they hate what you're saying. I think it's fine to break taboos as long as you're being funny.
Yeah, that's the main thing. You can't just be offensive for offensive sake. You've got to have a bit of artistic integrity behind it. And ultimately, like I said, it's got to be funny. It doesn't matter what you say, it's got to be funny.
Well,
you can be horrendously offensive, but if at the end of it the payoff is
worth
spectacular, and the audience are all sitting there going, yeah, that's brilliant, then it's technically not being offensive.
Yeah.
Technically.
Because you can find humour in every awful, shitty thing in the world, but as long as you're doing it in the right way, I'm all for it.
Yeah. When there's an able-bodied person and a disabled-bodied person, or just a disabled person, you have to put your body in there. In the middle of a shop, right, and the disabled person is getting really angry and shouting at the able-bodied person they're with, right? Everyone around you, all the other shoppers, the workers, wherever you are, will automatically think you're a bit of a wanker, right? They don't need to know the backstory why, they just think that you're going to be a bit of a tit.
It's not trying to shock people. I find it more of making it easier for people to talk about stuff that is taboo, that you should be talking about. Because I talk about suicide and I know a lot about that. And a lot of people, it's not accessible for them, really.
It's like when you drop your suicide gag and I'm laughing.
And a lot of people go, oh, but I'm not doing it for that reason. I'm doing it because if you're in that situation, you want to kind of know that someone else is there in that situation. You're not on your own. So
I wholly encourage comedians to really push boundaries, to break the fourth wall, or whatever you want to call it. Do things like that. I think it's very important to keep comedy interesting, to keep it alive.
Disability is a hard one, alright? My girlfriend's sister's in a wheelchair. You don't have to say, oh, she doesn't like it, right? She can't get up the stairs, so you can say whatever you want, right? Honestly, yeah, she's downstairs. We got her and she was like, you're kidding!
I really don't know how much, this might be very controversial for most comedians, but I don't really know how much we break down barriers. I think that a lot of the time, you got to have a barrier in order to have a joke, because there needs to be something there that everybody can recognize, or else well, there's no sort of material, there's no setup in order for a punchline to happen.
I was living in Coventry. Bad girls, this was not, okay? The most exciting thing we ever had, the most exciting criminal we ever had, was the woman that put a cat in a bin. Right? And to be fair, I sympathise, because the recycling boxes were complicated. It's hard to remember which bin you are meant to put a cat in. You know what I mean?
I think that it's a very healthy thing. I think it can be a very, sort of communal act. I like the idea of everybody laughing together, but I think there's also something really sinister about it at the same time. Something sinister sometimes about a comedy club where everybody has to laugh the same way. I think that humor in society, is a double-edged sword, really. I think that laughter is a really healthy thing because it gives expression to something that you can't necessarily feel, or you can't put into words. It's just something that's bodily and from the guts. And in a way, when something is so absurd, that's how we let it out. So it's a healthy release mechanism, but it can be used to, not so healthy ends.
For my next piece, I would like to present you a play I have written, a one-man play, based on the book The Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham. So please, be receiving for my play. Thank you.
If you let it go in a comedy club, you are constructing a different kind of subjectivity, a different kind of political subjectivity. On that basis, all art is political, and comedians are artists, and hence, they are political creatures as well.
Are you sure it's very political?
No, not really.
I think V going on about vendettas, Viennettas is about as political as it gets, really. I don't think I'd want to get down the political ilk. There's political comedians that do it very well.
With me, if you're going to talk about something, you need to know it inside and out. Absolutely, be thorough.
Hell no. No. Well, and I don't think, and I don't attempt to do political humour because I think I might get that wrong.
I don't do political material because I know very, very little about politics and care very little.
I do think that it's kind of a political act for the audience, no matter what, because whether you laugh at the joke or you don't, you're still making a decision in terms of what your relationship with this joke or this particular piece of material is. I think that stand-up comedy is always a political act because it's speech in front of an audience. It's speech in front of people. You are addressing the polis, the people. That's where politics come from. You are sort of intervening in what people can perceive and know, and that is always a political act.
My name is V for Viennetta. But you can call me V. Now some of you may recognise me from desserts in the 1980s. When no meal was not complete without a Viennetta to end. However, those days have somewhat changed. I soon realised I too, like the Arctic roll, was dispensable. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, though the revolution has started, you may have noticed that things have started appearing all around Leicester. In fact, the cookie have even joined in. There we are. They've not got the nose right, though, in all fairness. They've had a good go. So, yes, things have appeared. The revolution has started, people. The revolution has started. People will remember the V for Viennetta. Because I will claw myself from back in the refrigerator. I will spit in the face of Carl. I will stab a spoon through Haagen-Dazs and through cookies and cream. I will drop my way to the front of the refrigerator.
I feel very much that comedians are, and comedy as an art form and stand-up as its practice is much more connected in some ways to a kind of ancient Greek idea of rhetoric. In terms of rhetoric, you have, Plato had this idea that the difference between philosophy and sophistry, as he called it. So it's basically philosophy versus rhetoric, and rhetoricians are orators who are, it's a practice of designing to convince someone of something. So if you can stand in front of something and you can use your words in a certain way, and you can use your voice in a certain way, and you can perform in a certain way in order to convince the prevailing public opinion of something. Plato was much more interested in the idea that that there could be some kind of true change in the knowledge. So he talked about public opinion was doxa. It was this idea that what people agreed on, and true knowledge would be episteme. And changes and actually going into that true knowledge would be philosophy. Rhetoric was something that convinced within a public opinion, and philosophy was something that changed it.
The festival, for example, we know contributes £2 million a year to the local economy. We know how many people visit from outside of Leicester. We know how much positive PR is generated for Leicester through the festival. But in terms of social regeneration, I think at the broadest level, we bring people together and we encourage people to talk to each other, and we encourage them to do that in a fun and memorable and sustainable way, so that people, when they leave our projects or leave our activities, then go on to kind of extend that on their own terms and on their own basis. I mean, I'm a big fan of, and have waxed lyrical many times about social regeneration. I think the city has focused massively on physical regeneration, and I think that's been amazing. I think it's been really, really positive for Leicester. As a city, we've got some great new buildings. We also have a great new city centre, which I think is lovely and it's fantastic. But I think of equal prominence is the social regeneration of a city. You can't just do one without the other. They have to go together.
The kind of form of the comedian is very similar to the rhetorician and sometimes a politician. But what they actually do, there are moments of real that could be seen as a kind of political act. As comedians, we like to talk about it sometimes where the comedian is the sort of lowest point in society, that it's, you can say, it gives you the opportunity to say anything. So the jester was always the one who could speak truth to power. It's also about speech and what can be listened to. So a politician has a kind of right to speak, and everything else is often just counted as noise. So it's that kind of between speech and noise, visible and invisible. And what art does is it intervenes in that world, because it does move things around. It moves what can be seen and not seen around. It's what we therefore perceive or don't perceive. Comedy is often about sort of making the invisible visible, because you're speaking about it, which is, I think, a really positive thing.
I'm passionate about ageism, or not wanting ageism to be there, but I can't work out the comedy yet. But that's where I would use the stage, because I can't really stand that sort of thing. But I get cross about it, so until I can work out how to make that funny, I won't be going on stage cross.
I urge new comedians to just grab things by the throat and just go for it. I know some people who are actually thinking about doing it, and all I ever say to them is, do it. It's like, you've got to do it, because even if you only do it the once, it can be the best thing in the world.
My first gig was in a garage, in my mum and dad's garage, and I just got loads of mates round and we did a gig. I just did a gig to my mates, and they said it was funny.
Anyone who's starting out, anyone who wants to start in comedy, go and see a lot of comedy. Go and see comedy. Don't just watch comedy on TV. Go down to every single bit of comedy you can see, whether it's a big weekend show in a club or a little open mic night or mid-range gigs. Go and have a watch. Go and have a watch, and you can see the different levels. If you're going to do it, you need 5 minutes of material. So write 5 minutes of material, not 5 minutes of text gags or 5 minutes of stuff off Wikipedia, Wikipedia, or 5 minutes of stuff that your mate said that he said he's done, but it actually turns out to be Peter Kay's guide for everything. Basically. Do that. Do 5 minutes and get yourself into an open mic night and enjoy it.
Record your sets and listen to them back, even though you'll probably hate doing that.
I think there's enough room in this wonderful planet that we have for everybody. So if you've got a passion and a dream, no matter how well or badly that gig has gone, always remember why you're doing it.
Be kind and be good to other comedians, be friendly and make, you know, it's, you know, some of my closest friends now are from comedy, and it's often the first people that you meet and really click with and that you start on the scene at the same time.
Try it, just go for it. Write. And most importantly, I believe in getting up early and treating comedy like a 9 to 5, the way everyone wanted.
Essentially just stage time, gig miles, and just loving it. You know, just absolutely adore it. And if you adore it and if you work hard at it, if you adore it, you won't be working, you know.
I think that stand-ups can get really, really competitive, but the whole point of stand-up is a kind of celebration of individuality. So if you are good, if you put the graft in, if you put the work in, and you can make people laugh, it doesn't matter who, you know, you will get there because you are an individual and people will like that your individuality. That's how you get there. It's really meritocratic in that way.
Have fun, kids. Have fun.